Order, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Jonathan Ramsey,
Here.
Michelle McHugh,
Here.
Dave Pochiola,
Here.
Ken Demers,
Here.
Robert DeCina,
Here.
Karina Noy,
Here.
Robert Ritalik,
Here.
Mary Ann Rosa,
Here.
Rachel Ryan.
Here.
Public participation. First form is Ellen Mickle.
Warmed up. Al Mickle, 95 Woodbine Avenue. I'd like to talk about item, I guess it's 9D, appointments to boards and commissions. I'm on the board of Commission on Aging, and there was some discussion about minority representation and bare majority. And usually minority representation wins. But when I read the ordinance on the Commission on Aging, it said bare majority. So I brought that question up, and I brought it up to my Democratic representations. Through them and the chairman and the town manager, I got the answer. The reason I was so interested in that is because on the board, Commission on Aging, we had 2 vacancies for over a year, and we had to cancel some of the meetings because of a lack of quorum. So I figured maybe bare majority might be the answer to that question, but it wasn't. So hopefully tonight you're going to appoint people that will show up so we don't have to cancel any meetings because we do important work. And I'd like to thank those people that helped me out with the decision that I didn't like. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe Dana Gassinger. How you pronounce your last name? Gotsagan.
I'm on 53 Hamilton Avenue. I was coming tonight to listen to the speed cameras. Personally, I've lived in Watertown for just over 3 years, and I've almost been hit twice in the crosswalk. Well, the little guy was saying walk. Luckily, I looked and I didn't step off the curb immediately when it changed. Otherwise, both my dogs and I would have been run over. The guy didn't even swerve, didn't even stop, just kept right on going. And the poor guy sitting at the light at Middlebury, his eyes were like saucers. He thought he was going to see someone be killed in front of his eyes. I'm tired of the aggressive driving on Route 6 and being honked at aggressively if you sit at that light at Middlebury and 6, where you cannot make a right on red. So if you're sitting there and it's red and there's people actively in the parking lot, people behind you are honking and being aggressive, or just driving around the streets. If you go the speed limit, you get passed on 2-lane roads. This is crazy. I said, I've only lived here 3 years, and I'm shocked at how much sort of aggressive driving in a small town in speed limits that are 35 that I've experienced. So it's my piece.
Thank you. Captain Camara.
So I just want to say under, there's 9B and then 9C says that there's a discussion and possible action on the speed cameras. I'm going to take that to mean if you're taking action, you're setting up a public hearing, because I know there has to be a public hearing. So it's just, I don't know. I think sometimes in the minutes it will say whether or not you're doing that. But anyway, I'm going to assume that when that comes around, that's what will happen. I do want to say that I'm disappointed that the agenda does not list discussion of that alcohol in the town hall and the gifts of alcohol to employees and the gifts of promotional merchandise by council members. Since we know this occurred in December, the public is interested in hearing from the council what you have to say about that and what the future holds regarding that unusual type of behavior. So I'm asking you to kindly consider addressing this at your next meeting to enlighten the residents of your position on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, I don't have any additional correspondence of staff reports. Town manager?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a very short report tonight, but just to clarify that once our finance director gives a report, I'd like to ask the chief to come up and give you an update on communications project. But for us, in your packet, I put together a memo that I'm going to be sending to the Water and Sewer Authority, asking them to freeze their budget. As we go through this process over the next couple of months with WSA, I'll be working in conjunction with Jerry Lukowski as the overall supervisor at WSA, supporting him on the admin side so that we can move this budget process forward for them. So we'll be asking for that freeze. And then we did have mediation with the highway department, and we've come to a tentative agreement. Once we get all language corrected in the contract, we'll be coming to the council for your review of that information. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Maria?
Good evening, Honorable Chairman and council members. Just finance update. As promised, I left all of the council members a semi-annual budget to actual report by department. Just wanted to note that the reports were run as of January 17th, 2026. If you have any questions, let me know. As far as our fiscal year end 24-25 audit, requests are still being submitted to our auditor, but overall we are making great progress. The auditors are finalizing the EFS report with the Board of Ed, and we expect the final audit report to be issued in February. The town manager and I continue to meet with department heads on their second round of budget submissions, reviewing and running any details for them as needed. That's all.
Thank you. Police chief?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the town council. The town manager asked me if I could give the council a brief update on the status of the communication system upgrade project. So I will do that. The image on the left shows you what the transmission coverage for our existing radio system in the town of Watertown is. The darker the green, the better the reception. When the new radio system is completed, the coverage should look like the image on the right. So as you can tell, it fills in a lot of our areas in town where we have troubles receiving and sending transmission on our portable radio. So from a standpoint of both public safety and officer safety, this is going to be a significant upgrade. The radio system project included upgrading all of the police department's radio equipment tower sites, receiving all new dispatch consoles. The fire department is going to be transferring from VHF to UHF, which is the same bandwidth as both Public Works and the police department. So now all three departments will be able to communicate on the same radios as they are the same bandwidth. So from a standpoint of interoperability and public safety in the town, that'll be a huge benefit. The new system is going to be a digital simulcast system where our existing system is a analog single transmission site system. The single transmission site system means we only have one antenna in the town, which is up on the water tower on Buckingham Street, that actually transmits the radio signals. And we have a few other tower sites around town that receive transmissions from our radios, and then it all gets sent over to the Buckingham Street site to be transmitted out at a higher wattage. But if that tower goes down for whatever reason, there could be a power disruption, the generator fails there, the telecommunication line that feeds that site goes down for whatever reason. It could be a car accident taking out a pole. And if that tower site goes down, a standby transmission site, an antenna on top of John Trumbull School is our backup tower right now. And that has a much lower wattage, does not cover the whole town. So with the new system, every single tower site in town is going to be both a receiving site and a transmission site. So if any one does go down, there almost won't be any gap in coverage in the town. So that'll be a significant boost in coverage. In all three departments, both Public Works, the Fire Department, and the Police Department, and the Park and Rec Department are all receiving both new car radios for their vehicles and handhelds. So it's a significant project. The total project cost to date, we're at $4,680,934. We're still on budget at this time. The town council had appropriated $256,397 from the general fund to add to the ARPA money and the Johanna Hayes grant to cover the cost. We have not yet touched that general fund money. And I do have a meeting at the end of the week with Maria to review the finances to have a better idea as to whether we will need to touch that money or not. We are right now, as far as the project, at that 60% due upon shipment mark. We just got invoiced last week for the 60% of the project cost. The remaining milestones are upon installation of the equipment and then final acceptance, which I imagine is going to be towards the end of this calendar year. Where are we right now? All equipment for this project has been received by our radio vendor, which is Norcom. The system itself has been fully built in their warehouse. In fact, the Public Works Director, Jerry Lukowski, myself, and Fire Chief Bromley all had to attend a session back in mid-December where we tested out the entire system in their warehouse and signed off on it. The Judd Farm and Black Rock Tower sites have been built. The Judd Farm site, some of you may know, the current receive-only tower is located in the Judd Farm barn up on Judd Farm Road. I've been there for many years, and much thanks to the Judd family for allowing the town to store our equipment in that barn. But the time has come with this new system to remove it from that structure, and we've constructed a pole, which I'll show you a picture of in a moment, at the corner of Judd Farm and Guernsey Town to put our equipment on. And the Black Rock is going to be an additional tower site that we never had before. We've always had significant issues with radio service as we go down Woodbury Road towards Thomaston. As soon as we start dropping down in that grade, none of our radios, particularly portable radios on our hips, are able to transmit out of that hole. So we're constructing a tower right on Black Rock Dam on Army Corps property through a real estate agreement with the Army Corps of Engineers. And I'll show you a picture of that site. We have had one of 3 consoles installed at the Watertown Police Department Dispatch Center, and our dispatchers are currently training on the new equipment. Once all the dispatchers have been trained on that equipment, in about 2 weeks from now, they'll be installing the updated consoles on the other 2 console positions. Eversource and Frontier service orders have been placed for power hookups at the 2 new tower sites, and service orders have been put in Frontier because we're moving from an analog T1 lines at all of our tower sites to fiber going to each tower site. And we at the police department have received most of our subscriber units. A subscriber unit, the actual radios themselves. So all of our officers have already been issued a brand new portable radio, and several of our police cars have already received new mobile radios. That is our new tower at the corner of Guernsey Town and Judd Farm. That is a receive-only site. It's the only tower site in the town that's receive-only. Making that a transmission site didn't add any benefit, so we saved the cost on that and made it a receive-only site. So it's a single pole-mounted antenna. The 2 boxes you see at the bottom of the pole, one of them stores the actual radio equipment. The other stores an entire bank of batteries, which would hold that site for several hours, excuse me, if there's a power outage. And we'd be able to actually hook a generator directly up to that box if there's going to be an extended outage. And this is our new site on top of Black Rock Dam, right off of Branch Road in Thomaston. Although it's in Thomaston, it faces all of the state forest and Black Rock Park. We often end up in the state forest or in the park for lost or injured hikers, or assisting the DEEP and the Incon PD in Black Rock State Park, particularly with their campground, with any medical issues, or we have some domestics that do occur at the campground that we assist them with. And our officers have had absolutely no radio service in that area. So this will be a significant boost. Any questions?
Through the chair. Is there any anti-theft around the equipment that's at Judd Farm and Black Rock?
So the tower site at Black Rock is surrounded by a simple fence, does have a padlock on it, but the equipment itself is the boxes you see are extremely robust and with some heavy locks that are placed on that equipment.
And Judd Farm?
And Judd Farm looks just like that. There's nothing more to it than that. Those boxes all do have padlocks on them, but they're pretty tough to break into.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Through the chair. Chief, a credit to yourself and your staff, including your deputy, Mr. Lukowski and his staff, Fire Chief Bromley, who is not in attendance. It's obvious your map, the superimposed version of showing where the dead spots are. We've all had to survive at one time or another with these dead spots. To eliminate them says it all for officer safety, public safety, and the integration of the portables for the police, fire, and public works is very important. I'm all for any construction costs to be finalized. Let's do it finally. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sure Director Lukowski and Chief Bromley would echo my sentiments in expressing our gratitude to the council for supporting this project.
Mary Ann?
Chief, when do you see everything finalized? By the end of the year?
By the end of the year, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on, do I have a motion for minutes?
I move to accept the minutes of the January 5th, 2026 regular meeting.
Any, sorry, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion, comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions? Motion passes. Are there any subcommittee reports? Probably not. So we'll move on to 9A. Discussion on Waterbury's application of interest rates and water and sewer and update service rates.
Good evening, Paul Dressel, Town Attorney. The town, through its management, tax collector, town manager, several other town officials, has taken a long look at this debt to the city of Waterbury, and we've realized that there are some things that perhaps were not done appropriately. There are matters of interest that may have been assessed improperly. There are matters of interest that may have been figured incorrectly. We're concerned that the rates are being applied incorrectly. And as a result, we think that the dollars are large enough for us to at least take a long look at it. So I've talked to two attorneys from Harris Beach, Martha Kleina, they're here, and a forensic accountant by the name of Matt Soroka, in an effort to at least explore what there is that should not have been imposed on the town of Watertown. So they're here tonight to give you kind of a top line view of where they're coming from. They have not been retained. So unfortunately, they're not in a position to go into a whole lot of detail. But I think that it's important that we review this because town management seems to believe that there's a lot of money at issue here that could be recovered. So with that, I'm going to open it up to Dan Canavan and Jennifer Morgan from Harris Beach. That's Matt Soroka. He'll probably end up with the microphone a lot later. Now,
Good evening. As Paul introduced us, I'm Jen Morgan, and this is Dan Canavan from Harris Beach, Murtha. We have talked to Paul preliminarily about some of the issues that he just outlined, dealing with the ongoing issues with Waterbury and the water and sewer charges that you're being assessed. We would be very happy to assist the town in further investigating these issues to see, if there's anything there and whether it would be even appropriate to bring litigation later. Of course, it's too early to assess that, but we would be happy to help you figure that out. A little bit about my background, and then I'll let Dan introduce himself. I've been a trial lawyer for 29 years now, and I do all sorts of litigation, all sorts of trials and appeals, but I have a particular focus on utility law in litigation and appeals in the utility space, both for energy clients and for water clients. So for example, I was recently the lead attorney for the Regional Water Authority in the successful appeal of the Pura decision denying the Regional Water Authority's ability to acquire the Aquarion Water Authority from Eversource. You might have seen that headline last week. So that's an example of the kind of work that I do. So, bringing kind of an in-depth knowledge of the water industry and rate making and all of the kind of industry specific work that goes into that with the litigation background that allows us to kind of really efficiently, start in on day one. We know the issues and can kind of attack them and help you assess what's going on here and whether further action is warranted. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dan, tell you a little bit about his background.
My name is Dan Canavan. I am a utility attorney. I spent about last 15 years working for utilities, both Eversource and Avangrid, in a variety of capacities. I also have a trial attorney experience in my background as well. Both at Eversource and Avangrid, I represented all of our investor-owned utilities here in Connecticut. In the last few years, I actually served as the Vice President of Regulatory Affairs for Avangrid in the development of rate cases in front of Public Utilities Regulatory Authority. So I have in-depth knowledge about how rates are developed, implemented, and enforced, which is going to be an issue, I think, in the matters that we're going to be reviewing for you, hopefully in the future. I have a lot of experience also with the dynamics that you may see in this room. Many years ago, I represented the town of Brantford in a Fifth Amendment taking case, which we tried successfully through an appeal for the town of Brantford. So some of the issues that you receive here are very unique among our clients. Not only do we represent many water utilities throughout the state of Connecticut, the RWA we talked about, but also Jewett City, Newark Fire District, Norwich Public Utilities. I also have experience with the town council and some of the dynamics that you all deal with. So I think with the combination of Jen and myself, not only well-positioned, I think we're uniquely positioned to help the town review the claims that it may have in this case, and if it so chooses to pursue those claims in litigation.
Do you have any questions for us or anything we can?
Initial questions? Dan? So explain to me like I'm just 5 years old here. What kind of claims might we have against the city of Waterbury? My understanding is the interest accrues at an 18% rate and compounded. And so we were on the hook from the time we opted not to pay straight through. Does the math not jive that way, or is there something else in there?
Yeah, so we don't want to get into too much detail now, number one, because we haven't, fully investigated this, and also for privilege issues and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there are some concerns about the post-judgment interest that was assessed against the town and that the town did pay. So that's money that's already been paid. So this would be looking at a way to recoup some of that money that's already been paid to Waterbury. So that's one of the issues. And then there are also some issues that we would look at about the application of payments to the accounts receivable and whether that was done appropriately. That could result in some savings as well. And then also about the methodology for currently calculating sewer charges and whether that's being done appropriately. So that would be an ongoing issue that we'd want to nip in the bud if it's not being done appropriately, so that you're not overpaying for those charges.
So the current charges is certainly a separate issue.
Yeah.
Than right. Okay.
Yes.
So
There are like three different issues
yeah,
there that I
without question.
Yeah.
So the post-judgment issue,
are you, and I know you can't go into detail, but I'm just trying to understand, is one of the things that we're trying to figure out is, did we pay Waterbury interest that we didn't owe them? Is that a question on the table?
So I guess the way I would frame it is that and there are all sorts of reasons to pay what they charged us, because that would then kind of stem the tide, if you will, if it's later determined that that was the appropriate amount, right? That you would be charged continuing interest on that.
And is there a reason to believe that's the case?
Yes, we want to look into that for you. Or we recommend that you look into it, because there's a possibility that you overpaid and could recoup some of that money.
There's reason to believe.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think there's a good faith belief that we would want to look into. Again, we have not fully looked into it yet, but we've learned enough to think that there is, potentially a good claim there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Marion?
Assuming that we ask you to look into this, what kind of time frame are we talking about for you to be retained by the town? Is this something you can do in a month or two? Or are we talking 6 months of attorney's fees and a water and sewer issue again?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I understand why that would be on your mind. Again, these things sometimes can be done in a contained amount of time. Sometimes, it kind of depends. As you start peeling back the layers of the onion, it could get more complicated, but we would certainly aim to get this done in, I'd say, 60, 90-day timeframe. Sure, yeah.
My idea would be to let them assess the claims and come back to the council to determine whether we want to pursue them, whether we feel strongly enough about them to pursue them.
Yeah, I understand it, but I didn't know
So-
how long that was going to take to get back.
Just to assess them should not take it shouldn't take 6 months.
Oh, no, I would, yeah, not
You know,
this one.
this should be a relatively short term. What I would be looking for is to retain them for a short period of time in order to say, yes, we have good claims here, and let you guys make the decision whether you want to pursue them.
Yeah,
Thank
it would be
you.
done in phases.
That answers my question.
Anyone else?
Through the chair.
No, Rachel?
The third thing you mentioned, I wasn't sure, are you talking about the methodology of, did you say sewage and water or just sewage
The
charges?
sewer charges.
Just the sewer charges? Okay. And how does that differ from the original lawsuit?
Do you want to?
Yeah, so the sewer charges we're talking about are with the fire district. And
Oh.
based on the outcome of the lawsuit, there's analysis that can be done of whether the fire district is paying their fair share.
Oh, so the fire district might have not been paying their fair share to Watertown or to Waterbury?
To Watertown,
Okay.
yes. So that's one of the issues we would explore.
Yeah, I think they're twofold. It's what we're paying to Waterbury and the methodology they're using, then also the fire department reimbursement. So there are a few issues there, but you're right that was one of the things we would need to look at, is to overlap with the first lawsuit and make sure that we're attacking new issues. So that's part of what we would be assessing in our evaluation.
Related to the sewer side of the discussion, is it safe to say that the prior lawsuit and the outcome, the judges pretty much said Waterbury could charge Watertown the same way that they charge their residents? So that's kind of the overall summary. Is it our belief that there's a chance that they are not charging Watertown using the same method, and to go after Waterbury for that?
There are some unique aspects of the Watertown situation that are going to be different than kind of the citizens of Waterbury and how an individual is charged. And so again, that's part of what we'd be looking at. But yeah, based on the initial information we've received, we think there's, a good reason to look into that further and see if there's a good claim there.
And as far as the assessment period, what type of contract costs, what does that look like for us?
For our fees, I don't know if we have provided an estimate. We certainly can provide Paul with an estimate of what that would look like.
Because we've listened to lawyers before, we ended up on the wrong side of those decisions, and
Sure.
I would hate to put more money after the money we've already spent. And that's why I kind of want to know what that agreement could look like and what our risk is there.
Yeah, again, totally understand why that would be top of mind, and I think that's why we're talking about doing this in phases to help control that process and to let you all be making the decision at those different decision points about whether you want to continue with that. So this would be a limited initial engagement.
Through the chair. Given your experience and expertise in utility law, were you involved in the original case, the Watertown Waterbury case at all in any form?
We were
No,
not
we
involved.
No, you were not. Okay. Anybody in your law firm involved?
Yes, still, the law firm was involved, the attorneys who were part of that, one is retired, one is no longer with the firm. But they were not part of our utilities group. And, yeah, so we would propose handling this phase.
Okay, thank you.
So assuming we retain you and you do the initial assessment, what happens after that? So I know Mary Ann asked and it was, well, 60, 90 days, but after that,
I
what
think
are we looking at?
Yeah, I think we would come back to you with what our determination, our conclusions were from our investigation and provide you with some options of how to proceed, which may include do nothing, or it could include filing various litigations, claims against other entities, theoretically.
Questions?
Right, right,
More
yeah.
discussion,
Or
or, yeah,
alternative
there'd be a
dispute
range of options
Yes.
that we present, but
I
we
mean,
would have
those are the
recommendations.
spectrum, I think you'd be anywhere in between those 2 points with the discussion points.
John? Follow-up question to when you were discussing the fire district possibly being, having an issue with the sewage charges. Does that deal specifically with I&I?
Well, it could. That would be one of the questions we would have and we would explore.
Thank you.
I forgot your name, but do you have anything else to add to the discussion as far as on the accounting side? If you wanna.
Yeah, sorry, this is Matt Soroka. He's a forensic accountant that part of this may require some expertise in the accounting area. Jonathan, you can relate to that.
What firm do you work for?
It's called FML CPAs. They're out in Glastonbury. The long name is Fiandella, Milone, and La Saracena. So FML is easier. Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Soroka. I'm a partner at FML. Like I said, we're based in Glastonbury. I've been at that firm for about 18 years now. Before that, I started at Deloitte, which is a Big Four accounting firm. I worked at the Hartford office for about 7 years. My client base is mainly public audits. I also work on private, say, venture capital audits as well, and then as well as audits of benefit plans. I also work on consulting for mergers and acquisitions, technical accounting matters, and then we do some forensic accounting investigations as well. FML, the firm, has gone from when I started in about 2008, it's gone from about 40 people to 140 people. So we've grown organically through either small acquisitions, organically and through small acquisitions. And I believe we're the second largest public accounting firm in Connecticut that's just Connecticut based, not national firms. And yeah, as I said, I've worked in the forensic accounting space, as well as consulting for other companies. So I believe my role will be greatly reduced compared to kind of the attorneys that may be involved in this case. I assume I'll be more used on an ad hoc basis, more on an hourly basis, a couple hours here, a couple hours there. I'm probably assuming I'll be retained to be there for the expertise of recalculating some of the items that we're going to go through, whether it's related to water, sewer, or both. I imagine the majority of that calculations will be done by the finance department and as well as looked at by the attorneys. So I'll be there to help with the initial calculations or to double check. But again, that's just kind of my assumption there.
The issues are complex enough and Waterbury has not shown themselves able to produce the kinds of reports that our staff has been looking for in order to verify what's been going on. That's the reason why we assumed we needed to take a look at a forensic accountant to do a deeper dive. And he has a better handle on what Waterbury can produce than, any of our staff. Beyond that, our staff is pretty much pushed to the limit. Between the finance department, the tax collector's office, and the town manager's office, we really don't have the staff to go and tromp into Waterbury and say, hey, these are the reports we need. And that's a lot of what we have not gotten from Waterbury and we've been asking for. So.
Yeah, and like I said, I'll take the direction from Paul's team, whether it's looking into, usage rates, interest rates, judgment amounts, non-judgment amounts. So I'm just gonna kind of rely on them to tell me what to work on.
Any questions for him? I have about this much experience with recalculating interest for different lawsuits from years ago. And a lot of, if I recall, there's a lot of kind of statutes that are in play when it comes to how it's calculated, at what interest rates, things of that nature. Is it our position that there is a likelihood that Waterbury did not follow those regulations? Is that
I
one
personally
angle that
don't
we're
know
going to
at
be
this
looking
time.
at, I guess?
Yeah, because I haven't seen any of the settlement documents or the judgment documents. I've only seen a couple numbers on a spreadsheet here and there. So I don't know the kind of the root cause of some of those amounts that are showing up on that spreadsheet. So I can't answer that yet.
But that is one area that we'll be looking into.
Yep.
Or-
Yeah, and again, a lot of that will probably first be driven by, I imagine, the attorneys, right? Because they're going to say that this is done in accordance with the statute. Here's our initial calculation. What else do you see? But yeah, the interpretation of that statute, again, I can assist with that, but that's probably, I assume, going to be more, relying on them.
So just to be clear, your role would be only looking at Waterbury's calculations, is that correct?
Yeah, no, I don't think just isolated to Waterbury. It could be it could be Watertown's recalculations of those, I assume, right?
Well, it may involve something to do with the fire district.
So again, whatever it's kind of asked of me, I'll tackle.
I move we enter into executive session. Oh, I move we add to the agenda to move into executive session to discuss the retaining of these attorneys and accountant, to discuss the Waterbury application of interest rates for water and sewer and updated service rates.
Is there a second? Any discussions as far as adding this to the agenda?
Going into executive.
Town council, or actually, town council, town manager, town attorney, and the attorneys and accountant that's present. Any discussion on adding this to the agenda? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. So that will be, I guess that'd be 10B, that would be adding that.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Moving on to 9B. Okay. Presentation regarding speed cameras and installation in Watertown.
Mr. Chairman, honorable council members, good evening again. I'd like to welcome Officer Jeffrey Zadjura from the Middletown Police Department. Chief Costa was going to be, of Middletown, was going to be present tonight as well, but ended up with a family emergency. And he told me that Officer Zadjura is smarter than him anyway on this matter. So we're fortunate to have him, and thank you. And thank you to Chief Costa for allowing Officer Zadjura to be with us this evening. He has a very intimate knowledge of Middletown's speed camera program, and I believe he'd be able to answer most of the questions that the council would have. So automated traffic enforcement, certainly a hot topic across the state right now with the passing of the Public Act last year authorizing municipalities to apply for automated enforcement in their communities. This is not at the state level yet, except in construction zones on limited access highways. Otherwise, this is entirely a municipal program that requires the legislative body of any municipality to endorse the program. So what is automated enforcement? It is the purpose of automated traffic enforcement, and I'm going to read this out for the record, is to empower Connecticut municipalities to improve roadway and pedestrian safety within their communities. Automated enforcement captures images of drivers committing traffic violations such as speeding and running through red lights. The objective of this program is to improve public safety, change driver behavior, and save lives. This is a camera, Jeff, in Middletown?
Correct. That's on our Westfield Street Spencer School Zone.
So the cameras generally look like the image on the left, solar powered device on a pole, taking images of vehicles approaching, and as a radar as part of the equipment. And I believe there's two warning signs required before each camera?
Correct.
That look exactly like the sign you see on the right. Well, that slide got kind of messed up. I apologize. The steps to move towards a speed camera program, the very first step would be for town council to enact an ordinance. I did provide each of you with a model ordinance. It's Hartford's ordinance. This is the ordinance that the DOT has on their website showing as a model ordinance. So if the town council does wish to move forward, you could use this as kind of a basis. The second step would be to hold a public hearing on that ordinance. The third step would be to develop a actual plan for the cameras, and a plan is pretty extensive. This other handout from the Connecticut DOT here has all the steps and criteria of what needs to be put into that actual plan. We'll kind of review that in a little more detail in a couple more slides here. Step 4 would be town council has to approve that plan at a regular town council meeting. And lastly, the plan has to be submitted to the Department of Transportation's Office of State Traffic Administration for their review and ultimate approval. These all got messed up. Apologize. I blame Lauren somehow. Worked on my computer fine. Connecticut Department of Transportation then has 60 days to approve the municipality's plan once all the required elements have been submitted. The plan is valid for 3 years from the date that the plan was approved. Municipalities are permitted to modify their plan, and all modifications must follow the same submittal, review, and approval process as the initial plan. Approval of any modifications to the plan also expire on the same date of the originally approved plan. Municipalities do need to submit a report to the Department of Transportation and to the General Assembly no later than 18 months after the automated traffic enforcement safety device becomes operational. The annual report also need to do annual reports thereafter, submitted to both the DOT and to the General Assembly. This other document that you have before you, the latter half of that document explains what all those reporting requirements actually are and what needs to be, what those reports, the data that needs to be put into those reports. The plan requirements, again, that's all detailed on this sheet that's here before you. It requires a copy of the town's ordinance that town council passes. It requires a copy of the notice of public hearing, a copy of the minutes of the meeting where town council voted to approve the plan, a copy of the town's transportation safety plan, and a copy of the self-certification form signed by the town council chairman. That self-certification form is basically a form where the DOT outlines everything that the town has to, the chief elected official has to sign off, understanding that they fully understand the plan itself. Also includes a written justification with supporting documentation explaining how and why an automated device was selected for installation at each location that the town wants. And some of the metrics there would be crash history, speed data, enforcement data, traffic data, road safety audit recommendations, et cetera. Also have to submit a scaled roadway plan or an aerial image showing the exact location where the town wants to put the devices and the location of the required signage notifying motorists of the device. Again, the plan is for 3 years and 3 years only. There are annual reporting requirements and applications must be submitted again for each camera site for renewal after 3 years. If a device detects a violation of a municipal traffic ordinance, a citation may be issued. This is a town citation. It is not a state citation. It's not on a state infraction form, correct?
Correct.
So there's no points against anybody's license. It does not get reported to insurance companies. It is virtually synonymous with receiving a town parking ticket. It's the same idea. The citation will be mailed to the vehicle owner, not the vehicle operator. So the vehicle owner is who gets cited. They have to receive that in the mail within 30 days of the violation. Within 30 days after the owner's address has been confirmed by the Department of Motor Vehicles. We'll get into that, a little more of the detail on that in a moment. If a violation occurs within the first 30 days that the enforcement device is working, the citation must be a written warning for a 30-day period prior to being able to actually give a monetary fine. After the enforcement device has been working for 30 days, the citation can't exceed $50 for the first offense and cannot exceed $75 for any subsequent offense. And a fee up to $15 may be charged for electronic processing, the payment of a fine. Staffing requirements: a municipal employee must vet every violation. Officers at Juro will be able to give a lot more information on how that process actually works. It does not have to be a sworn officer. Many towns choose to use a sworn officer from their police department to do that, but it can be any municipal employee. And of course, there are due process and adjudication requirements, and there's various ways that can go about, but the town would be responsible to staff a due process appeal. If anybody appeals these tickets, there would be a process for that, and the town does have to either staff or fund that process. Any revenues received by a municipality from fines shall be used for the purpose of improving transportation mobility, investing in transportation infrastructure improvements, or paying for the costs associated with the use of these devices. And that can cover staff as well. But those are the only 3 items that any municipality is allowed to use the funds generated from these cameras. The program costs, generally, there's no cost to the municipality. They've contracted with a third-party vendor. In fact, if the council votes favorably to move forward with enacting an ordinance for this program and wants to consider submitting a plan, it would be my recommendation that we actually bring in 1, 2, or 3 vendors, depending on how many that the town council wants to hear from, to enter into a contract with a vendor right away in the very beginning of this program because they often have the resources to assist with the development of the plan, which would be one of the very next steps. The town would also have to consider that a portion, if we, you generally always go with a vendor for these programs. And it's, the vendor's usually funded through the citation process. They would get a portion of each citation as their compensation. Cost to consider would be staff time, possible need to negotiate the duties of this program with municipal employees, and any other costs. Which I don't think you really had too many other costs in Middletown. Just some, I know location is always going to be the hottest topic of this program, and I haven't even thought about red light cameras. I've been kind of focusing my mind on whether the town would ever want to go forward with speed cameras. And some of the locations that I could back up with data as far as traffic crash and speed data would be Route 262 in the area of D'Annunzio, where we did have a fatality at that location this year. The speeds, as we know, are extremely high on that road. You come to the bottom of the hill and there's a intersection right there, making it a fairly dangerous spot. Woodbury Road at the area of Porter Street, Nova Scotia Hill. Woodbury Road on the approach to Guernsey Town into the whole Taft School area there, trying to slow vehicles down coming into that congested area and a school zone. I have Litchfield Road in the area of Judson, Litchfield Road in the area of the Killer and Plunges, and French Street in the area of Riverside, where we tend to get a lot of accidents with people pulling out of either Ice House or Riverside, and the speeds right there tend to be very high because it's at the bottom of the hill as well. So those are just some of my thoughts on possible locations. With that, I imagine there are a lot of questions, and why I brought this guy.
Yeah.
So,
Start with Mary Ann.
Listening to what you've said and looking at the documents briefly, there's a lot more work that seems to be involved than I realized. I'm concerned, who would all those responsibilities for reporting and all of that fall to? Would that be to the police department?
I think most communities choose to use their police department to manage this program, and we'd probably be best suited for that.
Right.
But the vendor itself helps out significantly with these reporting requirements.
Yes, our vendor that we've chosen, they have the ability and are willing to pull the data points. They have access to these same forms. And when the time comes, they'll pull all the data points that are required by the DOT and help us put it into a presentable form to send it off to the DOT when the time comes.
So Chief, you're thinking something, this is conceivable that your department with an appropriate vendor could absorb that work?
I do believe if we decide to move forward with the speed camera program, the police department would be able to manage this program.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Chair. So, through the chair. Chief, I'm very impressed by the presentation. It appears to me you've done your homework on all the pros and cons of this issue, including can't this be enacted by the council? Let's do it. A copy of the ordinance. We have to get an ordinance. There must be a public hearing. What I really like about this is very important to justify the locations. Everybody here has in their mind where would be a good spot for such a device. However, it has to be crash history, speed data, enforcement data, and so forth. Obviously, that would have to be done by the PD in advance. What I also like about this, it's very important that a ticket may be issued, like a parking ticket. We're not going to issue a misdemeanor summons. We're not going to issue an infraction. At the onset, it's going to be a parking ticket to the registered owner of the vehicle. And if it goes on that there's no pay, then it would be bumped up, let's say, to failure to pay or plead.
It would not.
It wouldn't be bumped up.
It would
Explain
not.
that, please.
It would not. If you want to go into the theme.
Yeah, so right now the ordinance is, and we in Middletown followed the state's guidance on it, is that there is no subsequent punishment for failure to pay, other than that the amount due would be sent off to collections. And if the town already has collections agencies on employed, then they can work that out, and whatever their rates are to purchase the debt to go after it can be on the town.
Thank you. If I may continue on this, that sounds just like as in the past. If someone didn't pay a parking ticket, there would be a follow-up by an employee, not necessarily a sworn officer. A phone call at first, then a subsequent letter. You have 1, 2, 3 parking tickets that you haven't paid for, and the collection agency would invariably be the PD. They would come and pay the parking ticket to the PD, correct?
Yeah, with this particular program, the vendor that the town would contract with would handle all collections. So no town employee would be directly involved in the collections process.
I like that, Chief. Thank you.
Michelle?
How long has Middletown been doing this, and what improvement, if any, have you seen in safety?
So we had our first cameras go live July 7th of this year on our Connecticut Route 66 Washington Street, which is a heavily traveled roadway collecting about 250 to 300,000 cars per week. It is typically treated as a highway, even though we have a posted speed limit of 35 miles an hour. This area empties out into a densely populated area with many apartments, hotels, and shopping areas with very high levels of pedestrian traffic as well. From what we've seen, I just took some notes of our recent, when we went live in July, we issued approximately 20,000 violations. That's the month of July to August. As this program has continued to progress, we have only, as from November to December, issued 4,600 citations. So the behaviors of the drivers are changing. At that point, we're at about an 85% decrease in egregious speeders coming down and entering our town with these cameras. Our crashes, I took a small subset from the crashes in the area of, we'll say July to November of 2024. We had 10 significant crashes in the immediate vicinity of the cameras that 50% of them were all speed related. While our crashes haven't gone down, none of them have been attributed to speed related issues. They've all been minor improper lane changes, improper turns, things of that nature, where it's basically removed speed from the equation in that specific area. Some things that we can't really produce with data is it appears as though speed is down throughout the town. We have been receiving a lot less speed complaints. The one thing I call it is probably the boogeyman effect. Everybody knows we have them. They don't know exactly where they are. Even though we've advertised them and they're well known, you can look up where they are. They tend to drive through the town a bit slower. So that's what we have right now.
And what sort of revenue has the town seen to reinvest into safety?
Right now, I mean, we don't plan, nor do we plan for any type of the revenue that comes from this. We have the mindset that eventually we should be getting rid of them. You know, if we could correct all the drivers' speeding habits, we won't need them anymore. To date, we are at about a 76% collection rate. From July to the end of December, we have collected about approximately $2.2 million.
Thank you.
How many cameras?
We only went live with our Westfield Country Club road cameras in late December, so that is pretty much all of our Washington Street.
I pass the one on Washington Street at least twice a day and see the signs and slow down accordingly. How do I want to say this? Obviously, people driving slower, if there are car accidents, they're less severe because it's a slower speed versus coming off the highway, still doing 60 or plus. Have you seen any accidents, kind of specifically this one coming off the highway? Any accidents related to, someone slamming on their brakes because they see the sign or the camera and then it causing an accident, even though it might be a less severe accident than.
We haven't had any of those yet. We put our initial warning signs usually pretty well in advance, and then the secondary signs. So people have been feathering the brake rather than slamming on the brakes, especially coming down the hill. Even when they were speeding at 65 miles an hour, their foot was usually typically still on the brake, getting ready to stop whenever at a moment's notice. Now they're just doing it at a lower speed.
And so the council knows too, we could never issue a violation for less than 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. But the town can elect to only issue at a number greater than 10 miles an hour if ever elected to. So it could be 15, could be 10, but it just can't be under 10.
And who regulates that? Is the police
That would be
department?
town council through the ordinance.
Through the ordinance, it'd be stated the mileage.
Yeah, it's however the town council would want to either through the ordinance or through a regulation to the management of the program.
And would the ordinance also state the locations?
That
Or
would
is
be done, that
never-
would be done in the plan, the actual plan that submitted itself. I don't think that's, because locations can change. You wouldn't want to change the ordinance every time you move a
So the
location.
plan that's submitted to the state would need to change if the location changed.
That's correct.
Okay.
So, Chair?
Yep, Dan.
Thank you. So I love the presentation. And I had concerns coming in and you really helped allay many of them. And the money's real. I mean, that's obviously, especially if we're creating safer streets and generating revenue that we could go into creating more safe streets. That's a cycle that's good. But I do have civil liberty concerns. How have you guys addressed that in Middletown?
So what specific concerns are?
I just, the idea of automated enforcement, the idea that if a citizen is creating an infraction and is met by an officer and is informed of that infraction, there's an interpersonal relationship that happens with your community police officer, and you're held accountable. And yet that builds the relationship of what your responsibility is to the town as a citizen. By automating it, it takes that away and it creates a level of impersonal approach. It's certainly way more efficient, but I worry. So I don't know. Have you guys, have you approached that in Middletown at all in any
Yes.
way?
Yes. So in the way that our issue is specific to our town, yours would be specific to yours.
Sure.
It is such a densely populated and well-traveled road that the cost to the city, not only the officers, but liability and insurance costs to have 20 officers out there 24/7 making all of these stops would cost far more than what the town or anybody would even get out of it. It would cost the town a great deal of money, where this system, we remain accessible to the community because they have access to contact us, call us, we'll talk to them, we'll listen to their concerns and make decisions based on that contact later. But this has the ability to correct everybody's actions, because when an officer's on the side of the road, they can't stop the next person that goes, the next person that goes, the next person that goes. So in that sense, it was kind of understood that this might be more beneficial to correct the behavior rather than one officer at a time among 300,000 cars.
Yeah, it's reasonable. It certainly is more efficient. Yeah.
Through the chair. Chief, this is more a question for you. I'm a little bit confused. Are you talking about speed cameras only or red light cameras or both?
So my presentation was far more geared towards speed cameras.
Okay.
However, this state law that enacted also allows for red light cameras. But we don't have a community in Connecticut that has yet to put one in. I know there are some applications. I think New Haven has applied, and possibly Waterbury to install red light cameras within their cities. But I don't have a lot of information on that particular program.
Okay, because I know in the Taft School area, I think the camera that you mentioned at Guernseytown Road in Watertown or Woodbury Road would be very effective because people come in down the hill. There's definitely a lot of speed coming along Route 6 there. But that intersection, people run that red light all the time going right onto Middlebury Road in front of the parking lot, which is daycare, high school parking lot. And, you know, I've spoken to everybody in the Taft School community, not everybody, but it's, and I know you know, because you've probably spoken to our, you know, security officers, like, I mean, it is amazing. No one has been hit. And, everybody I know, myself included, multiple times have almost, been run over. And so I would highly advocate for a red light camera there. I mean, I think forcing them to slow down as they approach that intersection. But the fact that even though we put up multiple, you know, do not turn on red signs, people still just turn right on red and don't even stop. So.
I understand.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Go ahead.
So I'd just like to add a little context to Councilmember Cochiola's statement, is that this is not just separating community service. I mean, the officer's still going to be out there, they're going to be doing motor vehicle stops. This is an additional, and what the officer correct from Middletown stated, the boogeyman theory is normally referred to as omnipresence, where people think police officer are everywhere, and that's why we comply to the laws. This is a true way to change behavior, and through the reduction of the numbers of tickets issued, it's self-regulated. And I think it would serve our town, and I don't think at the beginning of this, I wasn't in favor of this, because it's going to create a whole host of problems, because there's probably people in this room who are going to receive a ticket and they're not going to be very happy about it. And you know who's going to field those complaints. It's going to be set in my office. So, but to truly, I'm sure the chief would attest to this, responding to multiple motor vehicle accidents where there's serious injuries. This is a way for us to hopefully not only save our citizens in our town, but our children of our town. I think this is a good way to change behavior. I would support this after hearing this presentation. Thank you.
Through the chair.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with what you just said, Mark. And Dan, I hear you too. That's, you know, it's a personal thing that you want from our departments and, but a couple of questions for you, Chief. Has this been brought through the police commission yet?
It has. The town council did refer this matter to the police commission somewhere in the middle of last year. Police commission did take this up on their agenda in the fall, and they voted approving or recommending speed cameras and referred the matter back to town council.
Okay. And you yourself, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but do you support this effort?
You know,
100%?
Like a town manager, when these first came out, I was very wary of the idea. But seeing them actually operate in other communities and the change in driver behavior it is absolutely significant. The way these cameras can change driving behavior. Within a few months' time, going from 20,000 violations in 1 month to 4,600 in 1 month. That's real data. And, that is 15,000 vehicles that are now doing the speed limit that were not before. And we cannot put a police officer on the side of the road to do traffic 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And like the officer said, they can only stop one car at a time, where these cameras, from a standpoint of scale of economy, can ticket every single vehicle that's going by in excess of the speed.
Thank you.
Through the chair, my son is in college in Boulder, Colorado, and he's gotten one of these tickets. And as his mother, I was very glad that I got that in the mail and could then speak to him about it. And his picture was very clear. It was his car, his license plate. He was behind the wheel. And this kid has gotten more parking tickets than anybody I've ever known, including parking too far away from the curb. Yeah, so he's learning his lesson the hard way. So I think it's good.
Officer, could you quickly explain the due process, how people appeal this ticket, how that works?
Yep. So after they receive their citation in the mail, they have, we actually expanded it to almost 30 days for them to appeal the ticket or pay. But we set up a process for them to be able to do it online or in person. But when they do it online, they're allowed to upload files to prove, that it wasn't their responsibility, or state their case and forward it on to somebody to adjudicate it. We utilized, unfortunately, the chief's administrative assistant was suckered into that one. But it really cut down on a lot of concerns from the citizens, because immediately they're getting response from somebody at the police department. We had a phone line set up, email system set up, so that way when they're emailing or calling, there's somebody getting back to them and listening to their concerns or their complaint about what's going on. And after they contest, if they didn't meet the requirements of not being liable for the infraction, they can escalate it to an in-person hearing, which is all adjudicated in-house. Our program now, the chief has hired 4 attorneys to split the duties, all paid for by the program. And we are going to hire 2 part-time employees to review citations overseen by the police department. But it's a 2-step process. They can try to contest it online. If they don't want to do that, they could skip that and go right to an in-person hearing. But most people in the digital age, they don't want to do that. They just want to take care of it online. So we offer them that service as well. And they get almost an immediate answer after it's been reviewed.
When someone does go through the appeal process, what types of things have they been successful at appealing?
Well,
Like
the
what-
Public Act and our ordinance is very specific on the defensible reasons. For speeding, there really isn't much because of Connecticut General Statute 14-107, the renters, leasing, and owners statute. Those people are ultimately responsible for the use of their vehicle. And for speeding is one of them. So if they can show that the vehicle was stolen, the plates were stolen at the time, or it's not their vehicle, we have come across these issues where they didn't even know their front plate was missing. It was stolen and thrown onto somebody else's car. We handle that. They call us and we say, okay, can we verify it? And we'll, eliminate the ticket. If they are hurrying up to get out of the way of an ambulance and it's something that we can verify, or a police officer, because maybe the right lane's jammed up and they're just trying to get out of the way and they speed up and they go through the camera. Okay, we can verify all this stuff and take care of the ticket. But oftentimes there isn't much that's defensible about traveling 15, 20 miles an hour over the supposed speed limit.
Any other? Marianne first.
We had a resident that spoke to us earlier tonight, only having lived here a short time and concerned with how people are driving. Well, if you've lived here any length of time like some of us have, you remember when it wasn't like that. And it makes it much more frightening now. I live right off of Davis Street. And there's school right there. Swift is there. And the cars that come flying down Davis Street, even at school release time, it's scary. I frequently am concerned for the crossing guard that's there, if they're in the way. I understand Dan's concern, but in today's digital world, if you go to one doctor, the whole world knows all of your information. There isn't anything now that isn't violated via electronics. So if you're breaking the law, sorry, I don't think electronics is violating any of your rights. I think, matter of fact, they're kind of defending everybody else. And it's something we need in Watertown to encourage. We need to have people know when they come through our town, they have to obey the law. Whether it's stopping at a traffic light, turning on red, or speeding. And if it takes a camera to slow them down, I'm for it.
Corinne?
Few questions. Would there be signage in all these areas ahead of time?
Yes, by the DOT standards, there is signage that has to be up and visible, clearly visible to the operators. We even took it a step further in Middletown because some operators complained that they couldn't see the sign. So we went out and bought larger signs.
So the sign you see on the right here is the required signage, and you need to have two of them in a succession prior to a camera by state law.
If they can't see that, they shouldn't be driving.
Right.
And if I recall, with Middletown, the signs were set up well in advance of the camera actually being operational. And then once it was operational, that first 30 days or whatever, it was all written warnings. Is that correct?
Would there also be a posted speed limit sign close to those signs?
Oh, yes, yes. It's in the plan. It's those signs, posted speed limits. If it's a school zone, all the proper school zone signage has to be in place. Times, if it's flashers, all of that's set up and has to be in place prior to the vehicle passing the camera.
Very good. Thank you.
How long did it take from when Middletown started to enact an ordinance to when you got an approval through the DOT? What's the time frame for an application?
I would say since we were running mostly blind, it took us approximately 1 full year before our first cameras went up.
We may have that shortened thanks to the experience of other communities. But Middletown, I think, was the second community in the state to get a working camera.
Kind of piggybacking off of your concern, Dan, would it be reasonable to anticipate that decreased traffic enforcement hours would actually have our officers out in the community more available, doing the things that they should be doing in person?
I think, the automated traffic enforcement for speed cameras in particular, you're targeting a single location with a camera that you're trying to slow traffic down for a known reason. It may be a spot where there's been significant amount of crashes. It may be coming into a school zone. It may be come into what's called a pedestrian safety zone or like a downtown area. The idea of like having a Watertown downtown right on a state road where the speeds are high on either end and you have a low speed limit in the downtown area, those are good places to put those cameras where you can't have an officer sitting there 24 hours a day slowing traffic coming down into a congested area or a school zone. But these cameras are very effective at doing that. Does it change how we do business otherwise with the police department? It certainly would not. It doesn't address all the other roads in town. You know, when we're looking at doing speed cameras, we'd probably be looking to start with one to see how it goes, and if it's working, you know, slowly expand locations as our staffing, if our staffing allows that.
I'm sorry, one more question. Are we buying or renting these cameras?
There's many vendors out there. I'd recommend if you guys are going forward, that shop them around and see what best suits your town. We in Middletown wanted zero cost to the community. So we decided to lease from a vendor who agreed that not one penny would be paid until citations were going out. Once citations were going out, that money from the citations pays for the lease and the other vendor that helps us with these citations, and then they send us what's left over.
Great. Thank you.
Going right into my next question. Roughly a percentage, or what is left over? What type of costs should we expect to pay a third
So
vendor?
this is where I have limited ability. Okay, I didn't sign any of the contracts with the leasing company with the cameras. So the exact dollar amount that the citations pay for, I don't know. But the administrative fee on the other side for the processing, that's going to cover their ability to send the letters out first class mail, batching, paper, all these things that go into sending out these citations. We charge a $9 administrative fee. So basically at the end of the day that the vending company pulls, I think it averaged out to about 89 cents a citation. The rest of that money is sent to processing the citation and sending it out. On the backside for convenience fees, those if people want to pay online through their online portal, there's standard credit card fees that almost every website or terminal charge in order to use their service.
And one last question, with Middletown's ordinance, if I recall, you guys said that the speed had to be at least 10 miles over the speed limit. Are you at 11 or is it something else?
We had a higher threshold. We are above that 10-mile-an-hour mark that we are targeting. We had to decide and split the hairs between what's egregious and what's reasonable. And that's not an easy decision. It's location based. But we determined, in some of the locations, 10 miles an hour over would be unreasonable and just a cash grab. We're focused on just really correcting and changing drivers' behavior. So we were targeting well above the 10-mile-an-hour area or zone.
Chief Costa did inform me that that actual number is a matter of national security. And he wouldn't really.
So I can Google it. Maybe I can find it. It's an ordinance somewhere. Any other questions or comments? So if the town council wanted to move forward, the next step would be sending it to ordinance committee to further review?
That's correct. And if you are looking to enact an ordinance, I would also recommend hearing and choosing a vendor to enter into a contract with early on in the stages, because when it comes to creating a plan, that vendor would need to be pretty intimately involved with that.
Thank you. Seeing no other, yeah. Turn your mic on.
Yes, thank you. Regarding an appeal, when we create this ordinance, which is a good thought, without a doubt, should we have a provision in there for hearing enforcement person to answer appeals on this ordinance as we propose?
Well, at least the plan to the state will require all that.
Yeah. Pardon?
the plan that has to be submitted to the state will need to include that, I believe.
How do they decide that in Middletown, officer?
To the appeals process
Yes,
and who we appointed,
was it you?
it was not, because the ones that issue the citations cannot be part of the appeals process. Keep those separate. That keeps anybody's, if they wanted to claim there's a biased opinion or something like that, the person who approved the citation is not a part of the appeals process.
Who would answer the appeals above the departmental level on the issuance? Somebody wants to appeal it further, so it doesn't get to the level of, for example, in town, the town manager. Who would it go to?
So to answer that question, it would be entirely up to town council how that process would work. Town council could pick a single town employee to be responsible for that process, or a committee. Or they may privatize that function like Middletown did when it gets to that final in-person appeal process. They have retained attorneys to handle that, so that there wouldn't be any in-town bias in that.
Which would be costly, however.
But again, probably funded through the actual issuance of the program.
So,
So it would be a net zero cost.
yes,
to
it
the
would
town.
be, it would be good to have a hearing enforcement officer for such ordinances or other ordinances.
Yeah, if you could employ a magistrate or, I imagine there'll be some good discussion on that.
Thank you.
We tried to mirror what our parking citations are, because our parking authority already has a set appeals process and in place. They did not want any part of this. They didn't want the extra work, so. But we just tried to mirror that and also gave this community, anybody who went through it, a way to do it online, but we also very much welcome the in-person. And that's why we retain the attorneys to at least assist with the workload, because sometimes it could be high, sometimes it could be low. But yes, the program, the camera program, it can pay for that.
Thank you very much, officer.
Seeing no other questions, is there a motion to send it to the ordinance committee?
I move to send this to the ordinance committee.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
Abstentions? Motion passes. And that will cover C and, I'm sorry, B and C. Next I knew. So now D, boards and commissions.
Mr. Chairman, just if you could reconsider your motion to go into executive session to add the two members of the WSA that are here. They did attend the meeting. It would probably benefit them to hear what goes on in the executive session.
Is there a motion to amend the previous motion?
I'll make a motion to amend.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions, motion
And,
passes.
and just for the record, that's the chairman, Mr. Sugden, and another member, Mr. Massey.
I move that Deborah DeSena, 80 Parkman Street, Oakville, be appointed as a member of the Commission on Aging for a term to expire January 31st, 2028.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All
I
opposed?
abstain. It would
All
be a
opposed?
conflict if I agreed.
One abstention?
I move that Melanie Flaherty, 21 Neil Drive, Watertown, be reappointed as a member of the Commission on Aging for a term to expire January 31st, 2028.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move that Joy Goldfarb, 935 Buckingham Street, Apartment C8, Watertown, be appointed as a member of the Commission on Aging for a term to expire January 31st, 2028.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move that Tracy De Silva, 10 Farm Circle, Watertown, be appointed as a member of the Commission on Aging for a term to expire January 31st, 2028.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Rachel.
I move that Wilbur Hughes, 370 French Street, Watertown, be appointed as a member of the Commission on Aging for a term to expire January 31st, 2028 to fill a vacancy.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I move to appoint Amy Quinnen, 159 Fern Hill Road, Watertown, as a member of the Commission on Aging for a term to expire January 31st, 2028.
As far as discussion on that, I believe that one is supposed to be expiring 2027. I just noticed that now. You want to amend your motion for 2027?
I move to appoint Amy Quinnen, 159 Fern Hill Road, Watertown, as a member of the Commission on Aging for a term to expire January 31st, 2027.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. I move that Luigi Cavallo Jr., 97 Joshua Tree Road, Watertown, be reappointed as a regular member of the Conservation Commission for a term to expire January 31st, 2029.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions, motion passes.
I move that Douglas Anstill, 188 Honey Hill Road, Watertown, be reappointed as an alternate member of the Conservation Commission for a term to expire January 31st, 2029.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions, motion passes.
I move Jeff Damaris, 294 Neil Drive, Watertown, be reappointed as a constable for a term to expire January 31st, 2028.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions, motion passes.
I move Joseph Romano, 11 Howland Street, Oakville, be reappointed as a constable for a term to expire January 31st, 2028.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions, motion passes.
I move that Zega Antonetti, 397 Kimberly Lane, Watertown, be reappointed as a regular member of the Economic Development Commission for a term to expire January 31st, 2031.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions, motion passes.
I move that Peter Lynn, 110 Woodbury Road, be reappointed as an alternate member of the Economic Development Commission for a term to expire January 31st, 2031.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions, motion passes.
I move that Jeff Damaris, 294 Neil Drive, Watertown, Connecticut, be appointed as a regular member of the Economic Development Commission for a term to expire January 31st, 2030. This appointment is to fill the unexpired term of James Gambardella.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions, motion passes.
I move that William Donston, 105 Dunrobin Lane, Watertown, be reappointed as a regular member of the Park and Recreation Commission for a term to expire January 31st, 2029.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions, motion passes.
I move that Joseph McGrail, 87 Pleasant View Street, Oakville, be reappointed as a regular member of the Park and Recreation Commission for a term to expire January 31st, 2029.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions, motion passes.
I move that Tad Johnson, 100 Cannon Ridge Drive, be appointed as a regular member of the Park and Recreation Commission for a term to expire January 31st, 2028. This is to fill the unexpired term of Jeff Damaris.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions, motion passes.
I move that Luigi Cavallo, 97 Joshua Tree Town Road, Watertown, be reappointed as a regular member of the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term to expire January 31st, 2031.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions, motion passes.
I move that Raymond Antonacci, 166 Ice House Road, number 9, Watertown, be reappointed as a regular member of the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term to expire January 31st, 2031.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move that Richard Antonetti, 397 Kimberly Lane, Watertown, be reappointed as a regular member of the Police Commission for a term to expire January 31st, 2031.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move that Robert Porter, 319 Thomaston Road, Unit 55, Watertown, be reappointed as a regular member of the Public Buildings Committee for a term to expire January 31st, 2029.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move that Jeffrey Franson, 410 Plunges Road, Watertown, be reappointed as a regular member of the Public Buildings Committee for a term to expire January 31st, 2029.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move that Karina Noyd, 29 Bessie Street, Oakville, be reappointed as a member of the Torrington Area Health District Board for a term to expire January 31st, 2029.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move that Jean King, 126 North Street, Watertown, be reappointed as a member of the Watertown Historic District for a term to expire January 31st, 2031.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move that Raymond Pramini, 410 Cherry Ave, Watertown, be reappointed as a member of the Water and Sewer Authority for a term to expire January 31st, 2029.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move that Marissa Mancini Cavallo, 97 Joshua Town Road, Watertown, be reappointed as a member of the Water and Sewer Authority for a term to expire January 31st, 2029.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move that Peter Musiarni, 63 Bower Street, Watertown, be reappointed as a regular member of the Watertown Housing Authority for a term to expire January 31st, 2030.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. I think that's
No.
those. Oh, yeah, sorry.
I move to appoint Matthew Wright, 27 Highland Avenue, Watertown, as the Town of Watertown representative on the Watertown Library Board of Trustee for a term to end August 31st, 2026.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move that Gary Swingle, 2579 Litchfield Road, Watertown, be reappointed as an alternate member of the Zoning Board of Appeals for a term to expire January 31st, 2031.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Sure. Someone turn off their mic. Not sure.
We had agreed as a council a year or so ago that any new member appointed to a board or commission, we were going to give some information about them. And we haven't done that tonight. So I would ask that both the Republican and the Democratic new appointees each provide the council with a sentence or two about themselves, so that
Put on record.
we are on record as fulfilling the obligation that we undertook.
Thank you. Moving agenda item E.
I move to authorize an appropriation in the amount of $83,409 from the ineligible construction cost line item 214.50619.235.0000.9214 for final closeout of the State of Connecticut Polk School Elementary Project 153-0053EA.
Is there a second? Any discussion or questions? Yes.
I had a few questions. It seems to me from what I read in the packet that this was caught by an internal audit and self-reported to the state. Is that accurate?
I don't know if it.
Yes, that's accurate. It was, self-reported by the town of Watertown.
Thank you. Another question I had, was there any penalties or interest assessed?
Unfortunately, I don't know the answer to that question.
Thank you.
But it's interesting because the legislature did pass a bill that forgave audit discrepancies, but not the self-reported shortfalls.
Any other questions?
Just as we've gone through and we've made changes, this project dates back to 2015. So we're going through these and closing these projects out so that we can obtain any reimbursement that may be due the town, or as of this one, we found we owed some money. So we're in the process of trying to close these projects out and finalizing them. That's pretty much how we got to where we are.
Are there more projects that need to be closed out?
On our books currently, that's what I'm looking through. I'm going by each individual one to see and working during our audit to see what the project consists of and then looking into it. But you need to take a deeper dive to see what it is and what department it belongs to and things like that.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yep.
So based on what Paul said, if we discover a discrepancy, should we be self-reporting it, or should we not?
We should be, yes. That is the
I would
correct
say,
answer.
yes, if we come across something that we have to self-report, my thought would be yes. Because if not, they can come back and we have all the backup to show.
That we knew about it.
Correct.
Any other questions?
This is a lot of money to come up all of a sudden on a project that's supposedly, well, we've got a school building committee going on doing repairs to that building. I don't understand. Obviously, somebody missed it along the way a while back. But isn't money set aside on those projects and held until they're closed?
In this case, I can't speak on this specific project. When I say that, this was a letter that came in and I worked with the Board of Ed at the time. It was years ago. So looking at the backup and looking what was presented, this truly was due. And I feel I did my due diligence in making sure that we truly did owe this. Because at first, if you see the backup, the date was in December. And I just said, let's look into it to make sure that we truly do owe this. And I reached out to the state. I reached out to, different people to make sure that we in fact owed it. And looking at the letter and looking at the backup that I have, yes, to me, we owe it.
And
No, I don't question we owe it. I question whether there was an account that was holding any money aside from the project.
Yes, so in our capital lines, there are projects that hold funds, but that's what I'm in the process of doing right now is working through each project to make sure what's on our books and what needs to be closed out. 'Cause it hasn't been done.
Through the chair.
Yep.
Is there any other projects that have been closed out?
As of right now that we're working through, I would assume so, but I can't, I'd have to pinpoint them to be able to tell you which ones. That's what we're working on through in this audit.
Okay, so there probably is. Let's hope that they owe us money.
Yeah. Or we're getting it, yes.
And just to confirm, the reason why the town side's paying it, not the Board of Ed, is because the bonding was through the town? Is that accurate?
Yes, that's accurate.
Thank you. Any other questions? All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move to authorize an appropriation from the general fund in the amount of $3,500 to be placed in the Watertown Dog Fund donation, line item 059.40836.460.0000.0000. Funds donated by Blasius Kia.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move to authorize the following modifications to the part-time transfer station attendant and seasonal labor positions effective January 31st, 2026. Part-time seasonal laborer for Public Works and Parks, entry-level minimum wage plus $1 per hour. Year 2, minimum wage plus $2 per hour. Year 3, minimum wage plus $3 per hour. Transfer station attendant, employed up to 3 years, minimum wage plus $5 an hour. After 3 years, minimum wage plus $7 an hour.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move to approve the resolution authorize the payment of tax refunds.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move to enter into executive session for pending litigation for the Seaman Realty Company versus the Town of Watertown tax appeal case.
With town manager and town attorney?
Yeah, I would suggest
Do you
we
wanna
do
do
the
the
other
other
one?
first.
First, yeah.
Yeah, do the other one first.
There's
Read out.
Give the wording on that.
Yeah, no. I move to enter into executive session for discussion regarding Waterbury's application of interest rates for water and sewer and updated service rates with the town attorney, gentleman from WSA, outside attorneys, town manager, town council, and the CPA.
Is there a second?
second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. I'm gonna enter executive session.
Recording stopped.